Continuing our reading in The World and Thorinn by Damon Knight, Chapter 10, Section 6. Thornton knelt beside the opening and put his head down. For a moment he could not understand what he saw. On the floor of the chamber below, several ells back from the opening, were stacked bundles of silvery translucent material, like those he had seen in the treasure cave. Wingmen were pulling these off the stacks, setting them upright, and then doing something to them which he could not make out, whereupon the silvery film vanished like water, and another wingman sprang forth out of each. Wide as it was, the chamber was packed full of these bundles. The chamber itself was walled and floored with some glassy yellow-gray material that looked slippery but was not. The lid, which was held open at an angle in some way that Thornton could not make out, was covered with the same stuff underneath, but was packed dirt on the upper side. The stacks were dwindling visibly, but still there was no end to them. To pass the time, Thornton began counting the wingmen as they arrived and were revived. He got to 500 and still they came. He had never imagined that there could be so many people in one place. Now something new was happening. The wingmen and women, as they were revived, were not leaping to the exit, but standing in a cluster as if waiting for something. Now he saw them stoop, and here came 3 or 4 of them in a line, each carrying a small bundle with exaggerated care. When they came near enough, he saw that each bundle was a child, sleeping or dead. They were perfect miniatures of the wingmen, with tiny gray-furred faces and closed eyelids as delicate as the ears of mice. Each was wrapped in a sort of pouch, with only its head exposed. The pouches were woven in bright geometric patterns. Each wingman leaped up out of the underground chamber with his burden, then grasped it with his toes, spread his wings, and went flapping up into the darkness. "Box," said Thornton in a whisper, "why are all the children asleep?" The children were awake. They would know they are being brought into the cavern from another place. Well, why not? Then they would know there is another place when they grow up, and they might try to leave the cavern. But why not real men instead of Injuns? Or why not Injuns instead of children? It doesn't make any sense. There must be real children, or it would make no sense to have Injuns which look like men. But there cannot be real men because they would remember another place. The children are too young to remember. When they are grown, they will take the Injuns' place and will think men have always lived here. Thornton tried half-heartedly to puzzle this out, but his attention was distracted. The chamber was emptying rapidly. The last stacks were being taken down, and behind them he could see the rear wall of the chamber, but there was no sign of a tunnel opening yet. He waited with increasing impatience while the few remaining stacks were dismantled, denying to himself what he saw. The rear wall was unbroken. "Thornton, there is a danger to you unless you leave this place quickly." He turned and saw the last few wingmen crowding out through the opening. He followed them. They did something to the lid, and it slowly descended, closing the chamber. "Box," he said, "where's the tunnel?" "There is no tunnel, Thornton." He had known it, he supposed, all the time. While he was asleep, they had gone into the underground chamber to hide, and had set the bird to watch him. He would have lived out his life here, and then the bird would have told them that he was dead, or rather, it would have stopped telling them that he was alive, and they would have come out, just as they were doing now, to resume their existence as if he had never been. And that's the end of chapter 10.